When I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
Take my hat off.
I'm from South Carolina, so I just...
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Moss?
Oh, my heart.
Happy 20th anniversary.
My heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Done.
And dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself. There's a
the doctor lived next door to the janitor, to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all the more.
letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
Happy Black Press Day. My name's Donnie Glover, and today is March 16th, 2024. That means 197 years since the Black Press has come about. Here to discuss this historic day are some of my colleagues, compadres, including Alexis Taylor from the Baltimore Afro, David Murphy from National Black Unity News, Andrea Blackstone from the Baltimore Times, Mr. Kenny Brown from the Northwest Voice out there in Randallstown, and all the way from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the Director of Black Media for the White House, Roderica Applewhite. Give yourselves a round of applause. So let's start with well, first of all, welcome, Roderica. These are some of the people you send news to every day.
Yeah, it's great to be on. Alexis, it's nice to see you. Her publication, Afro News, was nice enough to invite me to the State of Black Press brunch yesterday. It was a great opportunity to be in the room with so many incredible publishers that have contributed to the very long and hopefully 197 more years to go, at least, history of Black Press. So really appreciated being there.
What stood out for you yesterday? Did anything?
Of course. I mean, I think for me, it was great to see how many people have such a passion for their communities and in the ways that they want to make sure they're delivering news that is really targeted to their, not just targeted to their audience, but really is written in their voice. I think that's something that really has contributed to the longevity of the Black press and proves why it's still so important today.
Mm-hmm. Alexis, you want to chime in?
Sure.
Don't be shy.
Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here. Happy Black Press Day to all of the members of Black Press. Yesterday, I mean, it was such a powerful moment. We heard Dr. Benjamin Chavis speak about just 197 years. And what stood out to me was the part where Russ Roman Cornish, in that first publication 197 years ago, Freedom's Journal, said, "We wish to plead our own cause." And Dr. Chavis really honed in on that part, that line of what was printed March 16th, 1827. And still today, you know, we're pleading our own cause. It is a blessing each day to be a part of the Afro-American newspapers, pleading the cause of Black people, because there are so many things that we need to weigh in on. And it took me back to that African proverb that says, until the lion tells the story, the hunter will always be the hero. And that is what we're doing day in, day out. We are telling our story, putting our causes on record and our history and all the wonderful things, the beautiful things that Black people do on a daily basis. And it's just a joy to be a member of Black Press.
Andrea Blackstone, how about you? Any thoughts?
Yes, good morning. Thanks for having me on behalf of the Baltimore Times. The Baltimore Times is known for promoting positivity and telling stories about positive people in the community. And for me, one of the things I really think is important is it gives the community a space where they feel heard and they feel like they can come to the Baltimore Times to say, hey, there's something I would like discussed or I want to tell it. And to me, there's a trust, there's a relationship, there's a history built when people want to come to you, because sometimes they might not feel comfortable in some other spaces, and we want to hear what's important to them, what resonates with them. And I think keeping that kind of dialogue going from the littlest among us, this is something I was really happy about these two little guys in Baltimore becoming entrepreneurs, shoveling snow. It was a feel good, but even if you're a young person, you should have a place you go to see yourself. And I really appreciate having an opportunity to be here to help shape the narrative around that and all the hard work members like you all do every day.
You know, David Murphy, as she pulled that paper up, what crossed my mind was the pocket. Do you remember Earl Koger's The Pocket?
Of course. Of course.
This was the little publication, Roderica. Mr. Earl Koger, I think he may have sold insurance, but I would get a copy every Friday up at Penn North. Penn North is where they actually turned out to be the epicenter of the Freddie Gray unrest of 2015. But you could always get this publication. It wasn't huge, but it was consistent. David Murphy, you've been doing a publication. Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, I'm doing locally, nationally, I do a national Black publication called the National Black Community News. But I've been publishing for over 40-something years. In the Baltimore, I used to do a publication called The Informer. But I just want to say this, Doni, to you, because you've been publishing for a long time as well. I remember when you first got started in the publishing. And the Afro, as a little boy, I used to sell the Afro. Get in on and off buses, 15 cents, Eddie Afro.
I sold the Afro. I think Kenny Brown sold the Afro too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and then the Baltimore Times.
I love it.
Miss Bramble and I, when she first started, I used to help her carry the publication around the city. And so I have a rich history in this town with publishers, and I stand on great shoulders, and maybe one day people will stand on ours.
Kenny Brown, while we have you, it looked like you're doing a hokey pokey with us. You do.
Well, I was doing the hokey pokey.
Okay.
Let me apologize for that, Mr. Governor. I came on earlier, and I had a great connection. I got off, and then came back, and where I was at, I said, I got a weak connection here. Let me move around, find the right spot for you.
Okay. Well, you do a publication in Northwest Baltimore County. So, Roderica, for the sake of reference, a lot of people left West Baltimore, and the immediate suburb to the northwest of us is where a lot of African Americans have gone over the past 5 decades. So that includes.
When you heard that story, go west, young man. That's what they were doing. They were going west, northwest. So
that includes Woodlawn, Randallstown, and Owens Mills, where our more upwardly mobile African Americans tend to move. Kind of like DC, they moved to Prince George's, and then Montgomery County, and now down to Charles County in Southern Maryland. But nonetheless, his publication reaches all of the rich Black folk in Northwest Baltimore County.
Well, it's funny you say that, because you and I both know that there was income in that part of the county. But my history was, you remember, I worked for one of the majority publications, or white publications, in my early days of newsprint. And that was the Baltimore News American. And remember, at that time, it was a 2-paper town, News American, Sun paper. They were the major newspapers in town. daily.
And you were the first black salesman that they had, correct?
Right. First black salesman. But I tell you, when the News American closed, what I decided to do was go out and open up an ad agency. And after opening an ad agency, what I realized was there was no publications targeting that Northwest corridor of Baltimore County. If we can go back and we can think about other publications that were over there, they would cover the Ricestown Road corridor. They jumped right over Liberty Road, went to Catonsville, went to that corridor over there. And I said, me and my partner, we decided to open up a publication in that Northwest corridor because I knew there was a need there.
So, and Alexis, tell me the significance of having access to a Roderica Applewhite. I mean, since the Obama administration, we have seen more of us, I have seen, and there are people here older than me, but this is the first that I've seen this level, this deliberate, intentional connection with Black media, and for it, I'm just eternally grateful.
Yeah, to your question, what does it mean? I mean, the work that this office has done, Erica Lowe, Roderica Applewhite's predecessor, worked with us building up this connection. I can say that for years, Black press in this area have been trying to get a connection with the White House. And it wasn't until this office was established and they had women like Ms. Applewhite in the position that we really started to see a concerted effort in making the connection and making sure that we're in the room. You know, when it comes to reaching the Black population in this country, yes, they do go to mainstream media, but it's like Ms. Blackstone said, Black press is where they see themselves, and Black press is where they see themselves without that slant. And in order to really talk about the higher level topics, we have to be in the room. We have to be invited to the White House to be in on those conversations and those different events that are taking place. So my first time going to the White House was last year. I had an opportunity to go and cover different events that they were having related to just different topics where they were honoring Black members of the Civil Rights Movement. Black members of Divine Nine was another event that they invited us to. And then when it came to Black History Month, just letting us go through and see that history. As you know, Mr. Glover, we were there. We ended up going through the White House on one of those tours last year together. But the help and just inviting us and having us in the room, it's powerful. And it means a lot to our publications because we aren't playing the he said, she said game. We're actually there to speak directly with the cabinet members, the people who are making those decisions, and they make the experts available like I haven't seen before. I mean, we get those emails on a daily basis. They're saying, hey, this is happening. This person is available. If you want to talk to the different directors and the different heads of the cabinets, they make these people available and they make sure that Black press is in the room. So thank you so much, Ms. Applewhite, and to Ms. Erica Lowe. They have done great work in making sure that we're in the room.
Well, I got to put a plug in. There was a Black man there also back in 2010. His name was Kevin Lewis. As a matter of fact, I saw him recently, Roderica, and I got to tell you, before I met you, Mr. Lewis, he was of the same ilk. So to see him that day in the room on Ancestors Day really warmed my soul, because for me, it all started with him. And again, when the Trumpster guy came in there, it was 8 years. It was a drought. There was no access. What does it mean to you to have access to publications like Black Unity and Baltimore Times and Afro, Roderica?
Yeah, before I answer, we're actually really lucky to have Kevin Lewis back with us. He is now a senior advisor in the Vice President's office, and he's been really helpful, and we've been working together too to make sure that the Vice President can have more opportunities to interface with Black press. But I mean, from my perspective, I think, you know, there's a certain weight that you have to carry by working at the White House. And one of those things is making sure that you're doing your part to tell the story of America. And so the fact that, you know, I can I get to work with so many incredible outlets every day that's just doing really good, in-depth reporting, asking tough questions, holding this White House accountable on behalf of Black people. It's really an honor, and it's really fun to be able to be the person that is allowing an outlet to come to the White House for the first time, and feel that magic that I sometimes definitely take for granted, or I'm too busy to like take in sometimes because I'm really busy. So it's really exciting to be able to bring that in. And also, I think our principals really enjoy it. I think they really, because I mean, Alexis mentioned cabinet level secretaries that we give Black press access to. They're on cable news every day, kind of answering the same types of questions, and so I think it's a lot more interesting for them too, and also kind of the questions that they're getting from Black press. Really getting into, okay, like, yes, well, you're doing something for Black Americans, but what does that actually mean, kind of at the end of the day for an individual family, and so the fact that they're getting those questions allows them to kind of come back to their own departments and their own staff to say, we have to be a lot more intentional about this, because I want to make sure that the next time I have an interview that, I can be able to give really in-depth answers, what's all the data. And so it's really exciting to have that. And I think it just allows for really better policies at the end of the day too, to make sure that they're impacting the people that they're supposed to impact equitably.
Well, I'm proud of you, and I'm proud to know you, and I thank you for being so responsive. Andrea, any thoughts, any questions?
Yes, I appreciate even having this opportunity to really learn more about Ms. Applewhite and other people who came before, as well as colleagues, because to me, inclusion is so important. And for so long, people haven't felt included and heard. Regardless of where we're from, we have to come together so people feel like they have a voice, what they're feeling is important, issues that they don't feel are addressed, that they have a vehicle to get those questions answered. And maybe we can help to be a conduit and just improve those lines of communication. So to me, this is greatly important, not just for us as members of the media, but also for the community, because to me, it doesn't matter who we're doing it for. We're doing it for our communities and people, because they can't be sometimes where we go. And the issues that resonate with them, when you hear people who are frustrated, those are the issues hopefully we can take to the White House or wherever we need to go to get some answers and start these important conversations. So I appreciate that opportunity to even have the ability to be in a room and to even be in a forum like this. It's a great help.
Roderick, I do want you to know that running a news outlet is not the most lucrative business, especially
neither is working at the White House, though.
On a decline. But I can tell you, this gentleman here, Mr. Kenny Brown, has made it his personal mission to be supportive of the efforts we do here at Be More News. And any election that goes down, I can assure you, any election in the state of Maryland, they better come and talk to this gentleman or myself if they really want to reach our community. So I have to pass the ball. Kenny, any thoughts, questions, comments?
Well, again, Doni, you know why I support you, because I've watched you over the years and you do the work. So, and when I think about the fact that, and I just heard what the young lady said, we have some access, and that's a wonderful thing, because I believe if a community knows better, if it knows better, it does better. And the bottom line is, it's our job to make sure we get that information to them. And Doni, you're right, it's not the most lucrative, it's journalism now is almost becoming a thing of a passion of love. You don't go into journalism for wealth anymore. Now it's just going out, doing the work, gathering the information and getting it to the people. And that's a great thing to do. So Doni, you keep doing what you're doing, and when you bring panels of people, it's great for us to get to know one another, because we all want the same thing. Information back to our community and back to our people.
Well, Alexis certainly has the task of running the most historic of our news outlets. And David Murphy, you've done a lot on your own. I mean, go ahead. You got a comment, a question for Ms. Applewhite, David?
Well, not too much of a question, but thank you for your service. And
Yes.
but I do like, see, most people don't know. I kind of think outside the box, so to speak. Now, the National Black Unity News is not what you call a traditional type newspaper. We are what you call a solution-oriented publication, and we are a nationwide publication and beyond, because there's a gap between, everybody is covered pretty much in most of our major cities. And our Black publications do a great job of capturing what's going on in their particular neck of the woods. But collectively, globally, we have to open up the lines of communication, as someone already said, that we have to start working together. And I'm not sure, maybe somebody can help me on this. To my understanding, if you took all the Black newspapers, radio station, podcasts, and you lump them all together, and I think we still own less than 1% of the media. So that's still, that's a very small voice, but at the same time, we still have a voice, and we can speak those voices or not. Thank you, Doni.
Alexis, I have to defer to you.
I think the collaboration is important. I love when I'm able to call other editors across the country, and even though we are in our respective cities, a lot of times we're talking about the same issues, but we're also talking about different solutions. And so something that may have worked here in the Baltimore or DC area may, help a publication that is out in California. And so once a week, I have a meeting with Black editors across the country, from California up to New York, down to, I think, Georgia. And so the beauty in that is that, one, we can come together and, have our hour where we're talking about our challenges and well, what's going on over there. But having the support of other Black members of press, I can't say enough how important that is. And so the collaboration, I'm looking forward to collaborating with other publications. I'm always open to it. I can put my information in the chat, because that just talking and coming together, it brings about solutions in our individual newsrooms.
Roderica, when you were at GW, did you ever imagine becoming the director of Black media for the White House?
Certainly not. No. I knew I was interested in working in the political space, but by going to GW and just kind of working in DC, the White House is always this big kind of shiny city on a hill, career-wise, that you never really think you'll ever be good enough to be at. And so to not only finally kind of make my way here, but also be in a role that's really consequential given everything that's going on, it's such an honor, and I hope I'm doing it justice.
I think you're doing more than justice. What do you need from us?
Well, one, to not unsubscribe from all of my emails. I know that's a lot weekly, but it's really just a good opportunity to find out everything that's going on, and that's really the main way to maintain that access. But otherwise, I think just kind of keep doing what you're doing, keep asking us difficult questions, keep holding us accountable, keep introducing perspectives through your questions and your reporting that may not necessarily be what other outlets are pursuing. I think it's really important. And just, I think those are all the ways to maintain trust with your readership and your listeners, to just make sure that the news still stays at the high caliber that y'all have been doing for 197 years.
Roderica has to leave us in about 6 minutes. Any specific questions, Andrea, Kenny, David?
Roderica, well, I tell you what, Doni, I'll find out from you later, but I would love to know your story on how you got to exactly where you are. And I know it probably takes longer than 6 minutes to tell that story, but I'm honored and I'm amazed to see you sitting where you sit today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, for one, she went to GW, and for two, she's from the state of Georgia.
I am. You know my history better than I do.
And if you ever go to the White House, please take a picture of her and send it to her, because her mom Would appreciate it, Alexis.
She has enough already.
But journalism was in your blood from the beginning, huh?
I don't know about that. I don't know that I'd be brave enough to do it on your side of things. I think I very much enjoy being the person that just kind of offers up people to talk to, rather than being the one that has to take tough questions. But
she's a campaigner, Kenny. She does campaigns.
Okay.
She helps people win, like you, Kenny.
That's where I get my clarity at. Great. All right.
Roderica, what's the most challenging part of your job?
I would say the most challenging part, I mean, obviously the hours are what they are, but I'd say really the main challenge is making sure that I'm actually reaching out to every single Black outlet in America. That's my goal. And so honestly, Doni has been super, super helpful for connecting me to outlets that weren't originally in my press list, connecting me to people that are doing the painstaking work of kind of charting out every single Black newspaper in America, and just really working to kind of unify to make sure that everyone is being able to get that news. And on top of that, just working to make sure that when the president travels or when other top level principals travel, that there's someone on the ground representing Black media who can, be in the pool and travel with them and see that story. And so just making sure all of those things are happening, I would say is the biggest part. I kind of try to make sure I'm blocking out a few hours a week to make sure that I'm adding more outlets and finding folks.
And if there's a big question, where do you see Black media going? Newspapers, I mean, Kenny, are you printing as many newspapers as you used to?
Well, it's getting tougher to do because we talk about this demographically. Young people or younger people aren't picking up newspapers. They're walking around with it in their hands now. So you have to ask yourself, by printing, are you still being effective? Are you still reaching the people when they can just go right online and pull it right out? So newspapers, we're facing an interesting future, especially print. Especially
Alexis,
print paper.
You deliver yours directly to the customers. You put them in the mail.
Yes, at the Afro, we have print and we have online subscribers. So our print subscribers get their product through USPS. They get wherever they are in the country, they get their paper, their print product. We do in DC have a few distribution points. We're looking to set them up in Baltimore again. We did take the papers off of the street during the pandemic, but at the moment we are looking for locations that want to carry the print product on a weekly basis, because we just week to week have so many people who do want that print product. And like you said, it's that picture to mom. They want to, they want to see themselves in the paper. They want to be able to open it up and show their grandma or their aunts and uncles. And so I think that as long as you have people, as long as you have that connection to the community and they want to see themselves, you're always going to have a print product. And as long as you need classifieds printed, by law in a print product, because people cannot assume that everyone has access to the internet. And so as long as you have those classifieds and that connection to the community, that love to, and I would say just that need to see a positive image of yourself, I think you're going to have a strong population that wants print. But yes, we print and we mail our paper to our subscribers at the moment. In DC, there are a few locations where you can pick it up. But yes, we do every Thursday come out with an Afro.
Roderica, I know you said a hard stop at 12:30. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Okay. So, folks, what do you think?
Doni, a great job. A great person to know, man. I'm glad you're bringing her to the table so we all get a chance to meet her and connect with her.
David, you were a little quiet there, Andrea. I expected a little more. I mean, were you a little nervous there? The
No,
White House people.
I like to hear what people have to say so they can be heard too. And that's how I learn more about how they think and their perspectives. So I was able to take in some of what Roderica was saying, as well as everyone else from various perspectives, which I think resonated with me much of the same about the access. I think that's the theme that I kept hearing, and her ability and willingness even to be here on a Saturday, to me, tells me a lot that she was willing to participate. So that speaks for itself to me.
Well, in my case, I'm just so pleased to know, first of all, that you guys are still doing what you do. I know it's a difficult task sometimes, but it's very rewarding in so many ways. And to see that now we are in the White House and we are, putting information nationwide and beyond out there, because we have to connect these dots. Like the young lady said, what's happening in New York is happening in California and globally sometimes. And that's why, I've been doing this for over 40 something years. And I do know the power of the press. What we're doing, I consider ourselves as frontline soldiers, and to put out information, like I said, we still have a small voice, but if we do not do it, who will? If I told you, I mentioned to you before, we own less than 1% of the media, now we already being bombarded with 90% of outside resources saying this and saying that, and unfortunately, they don't view us in the light that we view ourselves in. And so it's important that we take that stand and get that information out there. Because if we go down, I don't know what would happen, to us, but but like I say, I doubt it seriously that we will ever go down, because somebody would always step up or stand on somebody else's shoulder, just like we've been standing for 197 years.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but this week, that this is a challenging question, but it's a part of our daily grind. This week, a student from Morgan State, a young lady, accused a 60-year-old security guard of sexual harassment, and nobody heard her cries. So she went to TikTok, and her videos went viral. Did you see it, Kenny?
Yes, I heard about it and saw it.
So my question is, as Black journalists, can we be critical of our own institutions? Even a Morgan State, who right now in the middle of the Maryland General Assembly, the 90-day session, the last thing they want to hear is someone saying, reporting the negative that happens there. But these things do happen at Black schools, at Black churches, at Black everything. What can we do? How do we do our job, considering that Fox would do it and take it to a whole other level, because they seemingly like tearing down Black things?
Well, Donnie, you know where I am on that. You can criticize any wrong you see anywhere. The question is that you can't focus only on our institutions if you choose to go that way. And that's the problem with the Foxes and others. They will show the wrongs, but they focus on certain communities. And if what happened is truth, truth is truth. Whether you say it or you don't say it, it's truth, and it doesn't disappear, it doesn't go away, it's always out there. So as media, it's our job to sometimes come with the truth, man.
And I come from a different perspective. See, the type of publication that we publish is what we call a solution-oriented, because we have enough outlets that get the daily news and what's going on the internet and everything like that. And what we do in the National Black Unity News, it's not traditional, as I mentioned before. It's a collaboration of over 50-something different people who have pages in this publication from all different professions, and they educate us why they do the things they do and how they can help us, how we can enhance our quality of life. So that's why I said that's what we are unique in the way we do things because we have gone globally now by bringing solutions, and people all over the world, and we're in England, Panama, all over Africa, people see Black people. Not only 14 people on the front cover, but 50, 60 other Black people inside the publication. And the reports that I get back on a constant basis that they never see that many of us Black folks doing positive, powerful things because mass media showing a different picture. And that's why it's so important. Now, we get enough negative press. And unfortunately, I'm just, I like to keep it real. I'm not sure too many people, I don't see too many Jewish people getting on the news and media putting down other Jewish people. I don't see the Asian community doing that. The only people I actually see does that and they pay other people to do it for them is us against us. And that's why it's so much divide and conquer. And that's why people look at us in such a negative way, because if you took, and I'm going to use this as an example, you took Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Oprah Winfrey, Clarence Thomas, you can put them on. I don't care how well you can play ball, how well you can sing, or how much education you have. If you in your little secluded area and you look at the media from their perspective, the conclusion they will come up with ain't none of us no good. I don't care how they can say it from their perspective. That's why it's so important to shine a different light on us from my perspective.
Well taken.
I'll jump in here. As a graduate of Morgan State University, I can say that I love my institution, but if you love something, you hold it accountable. And in holding it accountable, you are only taking every opportunity to make it better and to push it forward. And so that doesn't mean turning a blind eye to the things that are going on that need improvement and need exposing. And that's where I am on it. So we have had instances where people have come to us and said, A, B, and C was happening at a Black institution, and we call that institution up and ask questions. And because the person who came to us trusted us with their story, and they more than likely used other avenues and exhausted other opportunities or other resources trying to get a story out, trying to get help, trying to get something to be resolved. And so at the Afro, even if it is a story about a HBCU or a Black institution, right is right. And when people trust you to do what journalists do, which is ask questions and shed light on things that need to be exposed, we do that at the Afro. And so we do take it from a different standpoint, I would say, not necessarily a slant. We're not going to do what a white publication or white institution would do. But, we still hold Black institutions accountable because that's what we do as journalists.
Is it appreciated? I mean, when you look at, we have a first Black governor in the state of Maryland, in Maryland history, and the Black press was very instrumental in ensuring that he became governor. My question to you, panel, is the work we do appreciated from the first Black governor, from the first Black president?
I would say absolutely. Oh, go ahead.
No, go. You can go. Go ahead.
I would say absolutely. In February, Governor Westmore had a day where he invited people to come in and do 15, 20-minute slots with him, and everything was on the table and on record. And so we were very appreciative.
When was this?
This was actually Valentine's Day. On Valentine's Day, he was doing segments with different media organizations. And
I must have missed that one.
Well, I don't want to start no mess, but yeah.
Jenny, did you hear about it?
That probably went to spam.
No.
We didn't get the email on that one time, but okay.
I don't want to cause no problems, but I think that just just having that opportunity, we were grateful. We have Miss Tashi McQueen in Annapolis on a weekly basis for about a year now. And so, she's there on a weekly basis, especially when the session is happening, right there, making sure that the Afro has a strong presence there. And so, yes, I mean, when we had that access to Governor Moore, he didn't shy away from our questions. And that's one thing that I think that we appreciate. I mean, again, it's that access, but it's the time to be face to face with these officials and putting them on record. Where do they stand on certain issues? One thing I know that we spoke at length about when we had our meeting with him were the MBE goals for the state. For over a decade, those have just been, treated as suggestions with the 70 organizations that receive funding. Maybe they meet their MBE goal, maybe they don't, but there's no penalty because they were still getting.
Of course, they definitely need the goal. If they didn't have the goal, it wouldn't be on anybody's radar.
Right. But when you have the goal there and there's nothing that happens, there's no consequence for not meeting it, and you still get the money as if you did.
And that makes you raise the question of why do we need a black governor?
No, can I finish my statement, Mr. Glover? Okay, so as what I'm saying is, in previous administrations, we had that on the books, and they didn't care to go back and to even try to see who was not meeting it and what was the consequence. This governor that we have now isn't shying away from those Black issues. He's not shying away from, okay, what are you doing to actually ensure that we meet our goal, and then what happens if you don't? And so he's been very clear. He's a straightforward governor, I will say. I feel that when we're talking, he's not, and I mean, I'm new to this, yes, but when we talk to him, his words are backed up by his actions. And so it's one thing to say, yeah, we're going to tighten up on our MBE goal, for example, and say that face to face, but then no, it's the actual executive order to say, fall in line. What are you doing? How have you met it? Why are you not meeting it? And we will hold funding back if you don't. That's what this governor is doing, and just having the access to ask those questions so that we can take that information back to our community so they can form an opinion when it comes time to vote. I think that's very important.
I've been covering minority business enterprise for a mighty long time, and nothing has changed. These 29% goals have been set, but he said in his first 60 days that he wanted a plan from the various department heads of how they were going to reach this 29%, and if in fact they could not reach it, they would be gone. So truth be told, there should be some follow-up, and at this juncture, some heads should have rolled. We have seen many politicians, including the current comptroller, they all talk about MBE. We hear it around election time, but right now, where the rubber meets the road is where we really need to hear about it, especially in the Maryland General Assembly, which is in effect for another 30 days. We hear a lot of rhetoric, but when it comes to actually getting progress, everybody's kicking the can down the road. Black, white, Democrat, Republican, that's the norm.
I would say so. The executive order that he put out was requiring them to report their progress in reaching that minority goal. And I know that when we spoke with him, we did ask about that because we want on the record what is going to happen if they don't. We want to know if they don't, what is the consequence? Are you still going to fund them? And so we are awaiting that report. When we spoke with him last month, he said that there will be a report put out that will say where those 70 agencies are, and that he said on the record, they know that contracts are being kicked back if they don't have that 29% in. And so that was what we, that was the conversation that we were having. But I think that is the goal and the mission and the responsibility of Black press. That goes back to this Morgan State issue that we were just speaking of. Regardless of if they're a Black official, we've had Black people in high places for decades and still had the same results. But the mission of Black press is to, ask those tough questions, and we're trying to make change. I think that's why I don't take this role lightly, because we are talking about change in people's lives on a daily basis. We're talking about entrepreneurs being able to feed their families. We're not just talking about MBE goals. We're talking about Black people being included in these lucrative contracts that come through our state, which means closing that wealth gap, which means creating more opportunities for Black families and upward mobility. And so I think that's our mission, to hold their feet to the fire, make sure they do what they're saying they're going to do. But we know in the state of Maryland, you're right, we have had that history of having this goal and other goals like it on the books, and no one cared, and there was no one to plead that cause in the room.
I'll tell you something else, mass incarceration. The state of Maryland incarcerates at a higher rate Black people than any other state in the union. And considering that America is 5% of the world's population, yet we have 25% of the world's inmates, I'd personally like to see some attention paid to the prisons. We did see Obama, when he was president, visit a prison. I certainly would love to see this governor visit some prisons. There's some young men that might be inspired by seeing it. What do you think, David?
I know they will be. These statistics that you quoting, man, has been going on since we've been here, and that's one of the reasons why I do the things that I do. I'm not what you consider a journalist. I'm just a person, man, that's a void that needs to be filled. And I lived, this is not by some things I heard about. I've lived, but I stood at cameras and couldn't get waited on. I lived in a predominantly white community where they threw stones at me trying to get to a school bus. I seen what they did to my father, who was an educated man, had him cleaning out toilets and stuff like that. He had to humble, be submissive. And so I'm mission driven. I'm not trying to get out here, I'm not in competition with no one. All we're trying to do is uplift our people so that we can do better for ourselves. What other people are doing on the outside of us, they will continue to do. But I'm a strong believer that when God raises people up like ourselves, who have to reach massive amount of people, and we need to do it so with a conscience, with commitment. But I'm gonna say this in closing, though. One thing in history, this is throughout history. When someone conquers another nation, overtake it, or anything like that, the first thing they do,
communication,
cut off the lines of communication. And so that's why I say it's extremely important. And I'm gonna reach out to everybody on here. I am open. If I can be of any assistance to you, I'm willing to do that, because you are extremely important. We're on the front lines. And if they take us down, I don't know what would happen. Back to you.
What does it mean to be in the Black press, Andrea? What does it mean to you?
I think it's a great sacrifice. People have touched upon many reasons, from maybe it's not as lucrative as people would believe, to just the little things like, do you feel like you're even making a difference sometimes in terms of the bandwidth and all the things you're trying to do to help? But impact to me is really important. And I want to feel like my hard work and participation is being addressed. And to me, when people aren't invited in certain spaces, they're not included, they don't get the emails, or you find out one outlet, and this has nothing to do with what anyone else said, just as generic. When one outlet has access to something and someone else had no idea, and we missed that, not because maybe we didn't want to participate, but we honestly didn't know, it can leave people feeling like am I making a difference? Am I making an impact? And I like, as someone who also attended Morgan and graduated, but also went to St. John's College in Annapolis. So I have these different perspectives about inclusion and growing up in Annapolis. But I can say that it's so important to me if the governor is saying that no one should be left behind, that people get to feel that and they know what it feels like. Because I lived experiences where people in different spaces, even growing up, some people felt more included than others, depending on who they knew and what contacts. But just the ability to remove some of those barriers, and even if the story is good or it doesn't put someone in a positive light, the truth is the truth. And there needs to be equity in what we have to say so we can address these issues and help to make it better. And it can't get better if people just leave the community. And unfortunately, I did. I relocated to Virginia because I just didn't feel compelled to where I grew up that I had a chance to use my skills and talents the way I really wanted to, even after the investment. And to me, it would be a shame if more people do that and they don't feel heard, they don't feel included, they don't know if they're making an impact. So you take some of your passion and you start spreading it around to whomever is receptive to you. So I've split my time between my home territory and other spaces where I feel that people are a little more receptive. And it's a hard space to be in sometimes, because to me, making an impact is important. And sometimes it leaves you feeling like, am I making the impact in proportion to the effort that's being put out there? And I think sometimes we as media, we don't get thanked. We might not get the feedback we're looking for, so we can do more of what we do or get more support of what we do. And sometimes people might even forget how to support us because we have to keep everything going.
Buy ads.
Right. Financial support is huge, and people taking out ads, but it's really hard sometimes when maybe we're not remembered, we're not top of mind, but we're doing this work with due diligence and passion. So it's a hard space to be in when you're making those sacrifices.
Or when they go and hire a white PR company to contact the black media, just makes you wonder, well, damn, you couldn't have just called me directly? Hello? Right. So how about this? Can we put the final minutes on what we need from customers? Come on, Kenny.
Well, Doni, you know, I'm in the fourth quarter of the game, right? And I'm listening to what the young lady said.
Dropping threes, all nets.
This is key. What we do here, because we provide information, and you're absolutely right. If people don't have the information, how are they supposed to move forward? How are they supposed to get ahead? And we're not always rewarded for going out there and digging and finding that information and sharing it. And in a lot of cases, we share it for free, meaning on some of our publications, people do not have to pay to get them. But get the information, get it to the people, because the last thing I hate to hear is, like we said today, I didn't know. That's a stab in my heart when it says, I didn't know. Because what a difference it could have been made. Because we never know who has the answer, but people need to know the information. And if they didn't know, how can they do it?
Kenny, what's unique about your demographic?
Well, remember, my publication is very community-based, and my demographic is interesting because when we talk about Baltimore County and we look at who's living there now, these are folks with income, and they have income, and we're looking at the communities and we become majorities there, which makes it perfect for me because I know the groups I'm talking to. And the groups I'm talking to, they have what I call that disposable income, that income that go out and support advertising. But when I have to go out and I got to compete with other medias, because they all want to talk to these folks, but they don't always look in my direction as being a vehicle to reach them.
Did you pick up readers when the Woodlawn Villager left?
Yeah, but we picked up readers, and which was a good thing. But remember, before there was the Northwest Voice, and remember I told you the story. I don't know how many are on here old enough to remember that was an Owensville Times, that was a Catonsville Times, the Sun Paper, the News American. They were all in these communities, but there was nothing talking to the folks along the Liberty Road part. Liberty Road, Woodlawn, Randallstown, Owings Mills, those areas. And that was a nice little pocket for me to right up in between there. And once we got there, the community loved us and received us well because they thought it was great, because I was focusing on things that they wanted to know and they weren't getting from the other.
And you're putting out about 8,000 newspapers monthly?
Monthly, yes.
Wow. I commend you newspaper folks. Hard work.
Hard work. Hard work.
Maybe it is easier just to put it in the mail. I know hunting down people for the ad money. I mean, we got Cash App now, but I remember there wasn't no Cash App, PayPal. David, you had to go out and knock on their door. Hey, give me my damn money.
Hey, wait a minute. And the Afro's putting it in the mail, and that's not a cheap proposition to do. Mailing, I mean, but these people who she's mailing to, these are people who have subscriptions to a newspaper. These are people who have sent the money to her and say, mail it to me each week. Mine was a different format. Mine was a free publication. We have outlets, you walk in, you pick it up. And when they're not there, people call us and say, hey, I couldn't find your paper. And sometimes you didn't get there fast enough. That's all. Because people will pick them up if they walk in and they see them.
What's the future, Alexis? Are we all going to have to get on TikTok? Is that the new platform?
I don't know. Is TikTok going to get a new owner, or is it going to be banned?
Well, I like the Chinese guy better than I was going to say Rupersberger. What's his name? Zuckerberg. I mean, because I've never heard. I'd love to see the Afro do a story on Black people in Facebook jail.
You know, I do need to dig into that, because I stayed in Facebook jail throughout the.
Who the hell are they to put you in Facebook jail? I can see them not liking me because I'm gonna say free the Black people.
You know, I had to start censoring myself, because I'd be in Facebook jail and then get to an event and couldn't go live because I was in Facebook jail back.
TikTok, baby, TikTok.
But no, I mean, there is something to be said about that. I mean, what is the future? Absolutely, we're looking at AI. You know, I went to a media event in DC with the Congressional Black Caucus, and Chairman Horsford was talking about how we need to be in these AI conversations, and not just in the conversations, but Black people need to be going to school for AI. They need to be getting ready to be in positions to make policy about AI, because we know that AI, like so many other things in America, is racist. If you are only putting one type of Black person into the system, okay, you can't type in and look for a different type of Black person if all that's out there is Black people as criminals and thugs. And then when it comes to surveillance, you know, if you're not testing these products on brown and Black and darker tones of skin, what are we talking about when it comes to surveillance being infused with artificial intelligence? And so those are the things we need to be reporting on. We need to be talking about AI in the newsroom. I just started having those conversations with our editorial team. What are our parameters around AI when it comes to journalism? Because I want journalists to write every word and do all of the work, but I mean, we're moving forward.
I had a buddy of mine show me what AI could do, and it made me scratch my head a little bit, because journalists are being threatened with this.
Yes.
Because they're being threatened with this because you put in a couple of lines and hit a button, and it spits out 100, 200, 300 words. because all they've done is search database.
And it's AP style.
Let me say this. I've been using AI since it came out. This ain't nothing new. They just, presented it to the community just lately. But it's been out for some time. And I'm one of those people that like to step on technology. What's new. You remember Kodak?
Kodak?
Yeah, the Kodak camera company.
Oh, remember the camera? It no longer exists.
That's exactly the reason why, because they didn't keep up with the times.
It no longer exists.
And let me say this else to those of you who sometimes feel underappreciated. That's normal, because I'm just going to use this as an example. You remember when Jesus healed 10 people and only one came back and thanked him? That's the norm with us. Very people did. But I'm going to tell you one, your words do not come back void. People are hearing you, they reading your stuff, but they ain't going to say nothing to you about it. They just not that reciprocal, but your words are granted because they look to you. I can almost say I've been around for a long time. They look to you for, the contrast. They hear from this end, and then they go for black. Some people actually go for black publications to get a different point of view. Because, like I say, this new technology, everybody's putting out information. You got 10,000 podcasts and stuff going out there. But sometimes when people who are sharp, they look for credible resources. And they look to you. They may not never say anything to you. But I'm going to tell you this. You are extremely important. And I'm going to say this and shut up. Do you know all of this new technology, all of these different sources? Who do they get their information from? Newspapers.
Yep.
It's so relevant. And see, but everybody's getting the credit for it. The internet, the TV shows, and everything else. But the first thing they say, this comes from the time, this comes from here, this comes from that. So you are relevant. And just that one thing we have to do. We have to learn to compete. We have to be affordable as well as effective. Sometimes we need to play the numbers game. And I'm going to be honest with my fellow publishers. I love you. But if I had to advertise with you to promote my own newspaper, it's extremely too expensive for me. And sometimes we outprice our own communities. When you talk about demographics, the price low. Who can?
I don't know, David. People buy $1,500 Louis Vuitton purses. They can buy a little $200 hat for me. I ain't buying that crap.
No, that's something they want. People always gonna buy what they want.
I see them in Ferragamo shoes. I know they can spend $250 with me. Well, or they go spend money. They go spend money with white news outlets, and then want to come over here and talk me down on my product. No, you won't. I'm charging you $5 grand, Kenny Brown.
The ice is always colder, and we've been so trained to think that. And that's why it's so important that you have to make yourself relevant.
That's why I will take a Republican dollar. Not from Trump, but I will from Hogan.
Hey, Doni.
I don't want the orange man money.
Not one of my dollars ever had the word Republican or Democrat printed on it. It's a dollar.
How about that?
That's it. All right.
Any final thoughts, folks? Thank you. You want to plug yourselves and how people can reach you? Andrea, I just wanted more from you.
Well, I have a couple quick things that are positive about AI. Number one, I've been using assistive AI for years and never realized that was a form of AI. I use an app to help with my reporting and to record people and store it. That is a form of AI. So I think as we educate ourselves about how AI is, there's certain things that are assistive and certain things that are generative. And the Baltimore Times also doing some new things around health journalism. And some of those stories, there's something called Zing, and the articles are getting Zing through. So it's a summary, but you have to start with the original story. So there are new ways and new things coming up, and I'm proud and happy that people are finding pleasant ways to use AI. I've even interviewed an intellectual property attorney about AI, the positives and negatives, what you can copyright, what you can't. So to me, part of what I really want to do is to show both sides of anything that to me is coming up in the community, in the world, and giving people something to think about as a journalist, because that's my job. It's not just to rely on TikTok or the Facebook gossip, but I'll go to the expert and bring it to the people. And to me, that's what I enjoy. If there's a health disparity or a doctor or someone I can get to, it's not me saying it. I'm going to get the information to bring it back, because this is what could impact someone else in the community. And maybe they'll say, I didn't know that. Now I can go back to my doctor and I have a better understanding of how to have a healthier dialogue. So to me, as journalists, it's not just being thanked, but people thank us too and this is an action item. Please share our articles. Please leave comments.
This is from the Baltimore Times.
Right, please, because people want to feel like this, even on an advertising front, that they can give the metrics and the numbers to get these advertisers. So to me, if the community member cannot advertise directly, they can vote for us by keeping going in other ways. Even if it's sharing the articles, getting on the website, passing the news along, tagging the news organizations, the journalists. So to me, support can be, yes, we want the economic support for those who can afford it, but even just helping to be our advocates that they like what we do. So
nothing ticks me off more when they sharing an article from a mainstream publication, Alexis. My God, share our stuff.
Right. Yes. So I agree. I think there are things that people can do beyond the financial. And it's, to me, a form of saying, I'm voting for you. I want you to keep doing what you do so we can. So that's my final thought, is just help us out by being proactive and getting involved. And if one person can't advertise, maybe recommending an outlet, say, hey, don't forget these newspapers, advertise with them too. So to me, there are a bunch of ways that people can support us, from just reading and sharing to reminding people that we exist and we could use those financial means of support as well.
Anyone else?
And we must educate our own community. The importance of what we do.
Well, Dona, and this idea of Black media working together, we don't have to compete. Competition is good, but we don't always have to compete to the degree that we're not helping each other. And you're absolutely correct. Something we should not hesitate to be able to. We want people to support us, but also point out the fact that I hear there's another publication that might help you. There's Be More News over there that might help you. So be sure to reach out and share with those advertisers that there are plenty of outlets, especially Black media.
Good deal. Oh, that's it, folks. Thank you for taking time to join us. It's Black Press Day. Our industry was born 197 years ago today.
And only Doni would bring that to the table. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
All right.
I'm proud of all of you. Have a great day, everyone. Happy Black Press Day.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Doni. All right.
Thank you.